To the right, Gabe.
Kevin, I want to ask you about Claude George. How do you feel he's played all year as a senior, and especially when he got inserted in middle? And do you think he kind of deserves to play more or even start?
I would say that Claude has been up and down all year. I think he's been productive when he's been in there. I think if he were more consistent, he would play a lot more. Claude is a guy that has made huge plays for us, but he's also been responsible for some serious issues. And he knows that. I think consistency has been his issue throughout this year. There's no doubt that he's extremely productive for the number of snaps he was in there. I think he played more snaps than people think. I think he, just because if you've learned anything this year about us defensively. Just because you start the game doesn't mean you play the most amount of snaps. That's across the front. That's everywhere, except for maybe our safeties. So, if he were more consistent, he would play more. He's just got it's kind of hit or miss with him, and he does some great things, and then he does some things that don't really show up in anywhere else but in video, and it can cost you. So that's part of the deal. Just what I've said a lot of times. Justin Evans is really the exception to the rule. And junior college players, just about the time they figure it out, they're going out the door in 2 years. If you're a 2-year guy, we're really fortunate with our 2 tackles, because we were able to basically redshirt Genesee and Illuminor for a year, and then now utilize them as 3-year junior college players. So, Claude making the transition. Don't get me wrong, he's a good player, and he's made the transition from really a hand on the ground defensive end in junior college to a stand-up guy that has to read keys and react. He's a great pass rusher. That's when you see him at his best, too. When we add on and blitzes or blitz him, he's made a lot of great plays because instinctively, naturally, that was his position in junior college.
Good stay to the right, Ben.
Coach, when Keith Ford was out or in limited capacity for whatever reason the last couple of weeks, what was the offense lacking, and what does he provide when he's in there? I
don't know that we were lacking anything without him. I thought that we were running the ball really well. I think there's different, without a doubt. Keith gave us a spark. It was more of a Keith Ford type of game. And let's go back to the beginning of the year when I said we're going to need all these backs, and they all provide a change of pace for different defenses. So in a style of game that we played last Saturday, that was more of a Keith Ford style of a football game, and you saw that. I think his experience in those situations showed, the way he runs showed, and to be a physical, tough guy in that situation, he's a different back than Travion. And so, let's not say that Travion wasn't effective the 2 weeks that Keith Ford, or the 3 weeks that Keith Ford wasn't.
Go to the left, Cease.
Kevin, when the NCAA first approved graduate transfers, what was your thoughts on that rule? And with the success of Trevor and others, do you see that number of transfers increasing? Is that good for college football, in your opinion?
Let's go back, Cease, when they first did it. It wasn't that big a deal until I had now. Everybody's looking at Trevor. I've also had 2 guys that have graduated from here and gone to other schools and played. Jamil Showers, in his situation, who people thought he was going to be the starter. Johnny beat him out. He went through the process and then, came to see me, graduated, got his Aggie ring, and left. And so did Matt Jokel, and graduated and wanted to go to law school and went to TCU. So I've seen both sides of it. I think people, they haven't heard of those guys across the nation, but to me, my thought process is that if a young man has come to your university, he's done everything you've asked him to do, He's been a great teammate, and he's graduated from your university, which is the #1 thing that he came there for. And for whatever reason, usually recruiting has bypassed him. Why not give him another chance to go somewhere if he's got an eligibility a year to live out his dream? If somebody wants to take, wants to be a part of that, they need a quarterback for a year, an older guy. I think in Matt's situation, he was from Fort Worth, and his twin brother had left to go to the NFL, and he graduated as an Aggie. He wanted to finish up closer to home by his his girlfriend and everything else. I thought that was great, and then Jamil's situation to leave here in good standing, get beat out by arguably the best player in the country. What are you going to tell him? Just hang around here and hope for the best. That's hard to do. I think his family appreciated that, because what it did was give Jamil a chance to showcase his talents and really give him a chance to hang on with the Cowboys a little bit. You know what I mean? So that's what we're in this thing for. Our situation, obviously, for Trevor has been a good one. We filled a void for him, wanting to play on a big stage and in meaningful games, and give him another shot at things to show that he can play at this level, have those experiences, maybe get another shot at professionally. And he filled the void for us. So, I don't know that that there's a lot of bad things about it, in the fact that the things that have to happen and the way things are right now in the SEC with the discipline, the discipline policy with transfers that go back to looking at, what you did at the prior university from a disciplinary standpoint. I think that kind of solves the problems in our league. And then the second part is the guy's graduated, so he's got one more year, and he wants to play somewhere. If somebody's willing to take him, I don't see anything wrong with that.
Down front, Brent.
We're kind of the same generation, so I know you'll know what I'm talking about here. You ever asked Shane Trapuka if he can shoot like his uncle?
I grew up, I make fun of it because, I used to listen to it all the time, and particularly being in Indianapolis at the time, and the introductions of Orlando Woolridge and Kelly Trapuka, Notre Dame basketball, and Digger Phelps, is a big deal. So I give him a hard time and ask exactly where Essex Falls, New Jersey is, because that's all I heard when I was a kid before they announced Kelly Trapuka. So, yeah, he's doing a great job for us, like I said, I can't say enough about our special teams and Jeff Banks. Every year we come into this thing, there's a bunch of questions about kickers, punters, snappers. We get to a point of the year where we just expect them to be good. We start off the year worried about them because we've never heard of them, and then we keep them around, and then, all these guys do is, and by the way, we had another guy win an NFL game this weekend. So a guy that, we were worried about him kicking here a few years ago. Jeff Banks does a great job with these guys. Shane has proven himself. I think the big thing, last week was we did some directional punting, off the right hash over to the left, put it on the ground, and Eddie picked it up, and we still tackled him with the 17 or inside the 20. Had a couple punts inside the 20 again. This year, Josh Reynolds makes a heck of a play at the 1. So, although maybe his average hasn't been as high as some guys who've been here in the last couple years, I think if you go back and look at his accuracy and limiting returns, and then number 2, his pinning people down inside the 20, he's been very, very good.
Go to the back, very left, Lee.
Hey, Coach, the back
left. Trevor talked on Saturday about how he's seen one-loss teams get to where they want to go when he cited last year when he was at Oklahoma. Just wondering how much it eases your mind knowing that you have a guy like Trevor to communicate to the rest of the team, hey guys, these games are all going to be really important and you can get to where you want to go knowing that he's got that experience.
Well, I'll be honest with you, we talked about that yesterday. We're not talking about that. All right, we got to worry about this week. So,
Okay.
We don't have any control over what happens after that. And, our guys understand that. I think, right after that game, everybody still wants to talk about, where we are in the national picture and what can happen here and what can happen there. Guess what? 6 weeks ago, that wasn't a conversation. Now all of a sudden it is. So we don't forget that. We got beat New Mexico State this week. And, that's where we refocused on. That's what this week's about. And then we'll figure out what we're doing next week to play our next opponent. But as far as the big picture, you guys worry about that.
We'll stay to the back right, Daryl.
Coach, can you talk a little bit about Tyler Rogers and his skill set that he'll bring in here? I mean, he seems to throw the ball pretty well.
Yeah, they're going to throw it around a bunch. Doug Martin has been around as a head coach for a while. He's going to sling it around all over the place, and he's got a guy that can do that. They're going to spread us out, and it's going to be zone read and really more of the same and some RPO stuff, and then take shots down the field. A lot of vertical routes are going to test us deep. They got nothing to lose. You go back and, you watch tape, and all I got to do is go back and I can remember being in the middle of a game and looking at the Kentucky score just keep flashing up there. They're putting points up and going up and down the field, and that was a heck of a football game. So now they played another SEC opponent. They're no stranger to that, but they're definitely a team that is going to try to expose you and get big plays off of deep throws and all kinds of things down the field. Defensively, their linebackers are really the core of their unit. They run real well. Good tacklers, but they've played a lot of different styles of football, basically across in the last 4 or 5 weeks, from SEC teams to the teams in their leagues. They've seen a lot of different offenses, but as you said, in Coach Martin's style, they're not going to be shy at throwing that football around.
Second row, Ben.
Coach, when with that Mac Wilson hit on Speedy, have y'all talked to the SEC office? Or
Yes,
have they been,
I did.
What did they say about that hit?
You might want to talk to them about that.
What were your concerns relayed to the conference? with y'all?
It's just, why wouldn't the play stopped? So, why wouldn't it looked at? So, that I had a conversation with Steve Shaw Sunday morning about that.
Y'all have been involved in a hit back-to-back games. Tennessee was the other way around. This week it's y'all. Do you see a point in time where kickoffs might end up not becoming a part of college football because of what we've seen the last couple of weeks?
I don't know that that's going to be the case. No.
Time for a couple more. Down front, Sam.
Understanding that you guys faced a pretty elite defensive front, where are you in terms of how you feel about your offensive line's performance, both individually in that game and over the course of the season?
Well, I think Alabama's had an effect on everybody. The week before, I think Tennessee rushed for 36 yards. So, we want to be better. I think we're young interiorly. I think Coach Turner has done a great job with this offensive line. A line that basically up until that game was leading the league in rushing. So that's an elite. That front against us. There's no doubt that they were better, and so that game is that game, and they played as hard as they could play. I think what you're going to see Alabama continue to do this year with that front is no different. And I think draft day, wherever that is, or whenever that is, you're going to see a bunch of those names get called. So, that's where that is. Do we want to be better? Yeah. Can we be better? We will be better because those guys are going to be playing here for the next 3-4 years. And the good news is those guys that they played against are going to be gone next year. So I say that, but they keep rolling them back every year from over there. I don't know if they go to the draft and bring guys back, and instead of the way most people do, bring guys to the draft. And we talked to those guys after the game. McCoy, Prater, those guys. They're freshmen. Sutherland, sophomores and redshirt freshmen. It was an eye-opening experience. I'll just put it that way for them. And the good news is, that those guys won't be there next year, but there'll be somebody just like them. And we talked to them and said, hey, you got another year to get bigger and stronger and learn from that experience. And they've done a good job this year for guys that we really, going into the season, people were worried, we got interiorly, we've got young guys in there, freshmen, sophomore, true freshmen. But like I said, the good news is those guys are going to be back. Coach Turner's doing a great job with them, and that's what we're about here. We're about getting better this week and addressing those issues. And that's, I wasn't being trying to be a smart aspect there, but we've got things that we've got to continue to fix, and that's the way we've approached this season every week. And personnel-wise, the things that we have done, and I'll say this too, that I think Jim Turner has done a great job with the line, but I also think that Noel Mazzoni has done a great job with maybe masking some of the things that came about Saturday with protections, with different things that we've done to help guys. I think Alabama, what you saw were 5 guys that got some matchup issues, created some things, and then when we got behind, having to drop back, really struggled with that. So, people ask why are we doing this, or what the play calling is here, and why are we, what's going on. We had 2 issues, which we knew going into the game, and which we've known for a while, but we've been able to do some things with protections and from play calls. And then number 2, I think our offensive line coach did a great job. They had a great plan. I think, they're playing too high the whole first half until you could get into certain situations. It was one over the top of Josh and Josh Reynolds being pressed, trying to make other people make plays. And, and whenever you're able to defend with your defensive line with basically 4 or 5 or maybe even 6, and we got them to 6 in the box, it makes it really difficult in the passing game without being able to do some other things. So, when you play a team like that, you've got to be efficient in what you do. You can't make the mistakes we did. And the thing is that we've made some mistakes like that in games earlier this year, but because of where we were able to get away with them and still win the game. And against Alabama, you can't do that.
All right, Coach, we've got Coach Chavis ready.